the boxer that I mentioned, well, actually, Shawn gets his ring name. Shawn doesn't get his ring name from the TV network. Shawn gets his, no, he doesn't. Yeah. He gets his ring name from my coach's fighter. He had a fighter when I was a kid. I was about 12, 13 years old. I was in the gym, and I'm in the locker room, and I go in the locker room, and I'm small, you know. I think at that age, I'm probably like 100 pounds or something, you know, 110 pounds, maybe like that. Yeah. And I look at the lockers. The lockers are tall and big, and they got their names. Some of them had names on the lockers. So to me, that signified that this person was somebody in boxing, was a big name in boxing. Like, you know, like Muhammad Ali, if he had a locker in here, he'd have his name on it. So that's kind of way I looked at it. And so when I saw this locker with the name Showtime on it, I said, man, he must be the champ, you know. And so he had his name on it. I would watch him when he come in and put his stuff in the locker and take his stuff out, or whatever he was doing. I see his name up on the locker. I asked a few people about him, and he was. At that time, he was, before they had USA Boxing, they had the ABF, which is the Amateur Boxing Federation. And he was the ABF national champion. He was a U.S. champion back then. And he went on to be a pro and probably win his first 10 to 15 fights before he took a loss. And back then they had titles on the you know, telecasts of CBS Sports or ABC Sports or whatever, Wild World Sports, when they would show boxing. The title that he fought for was the Budweiser title.
Yo, I remember that, actually.
You remember that?
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He fought for the Budweiser title. He won the Budweiser title.
Which tells you how old I am.
Right. He won the Budweiser title. I was a kid when I remember seeing that. But I always looked up to that and looked up to him and the things that, you know, he was doing as far as that was concerned. So years later, I gave Shawn that ring name out of that day that I saw that name on the locker. That's where it came from.
Wow.
And his name was Jeffrey Showtime Stoudemire.
Wow. And
years later, it's crazy, years later, I can't remember, I don't think I ever introduced Shawn to him. I don't think I did, but I seen him years later.
But he knows the story, though.
He knows the story. But here, this is what I'm gonna say, about 2 to 3 years ago, Shawn was in Ohio, just from Ohio, where we're from. Shawn was in Ohio, and he had a birthday party, and you know, it was at a club, so anybody could come, and a girl comes in there and she says, I came all the way to see you. I drove 45 miles from, the party was in Akron, and I think she lived in Cleveland. I drove 45 miles to meet you. And she told her what her name was. I don't remember her name. She said, my father was Jeffrey Stoudemire, Showtime.
Wow.
And you're named after my dad.
Wow.
So she had heard the story somewhere.
Right, right, you know? Right.
And
he knew, so, I mean, if she knew the story, then he must have knew the story too.
I don't know. I do not know.
Wow.
Because he's gone now. He's passed on. So I don't know. The last time I saw Jeff, Shawn, I was still boxing, so Shawn was very small. Yeah. You know, this was early 90s when I saw Jeff. It was at a boxing match and Jeff was there. But I digress.